Five, four, three, two, one, presto. All right. Um, we got Kevin is here in the studio. I see it's 10 o'clock on the button. So anybody that has been to our teams meetings or company meetings, we're going to give a couple minutes before we get started just to let folks kind of pour in. So we'll get this going. Probably in about two to 3 minutes. So like around 10:03, we'll start as we let everybody come in. And so we're going to go as we move through the podcast here. Like I said, we'll get started in a couple minutes. You're welcome to throw. We're going to have I think, a really great conversation for anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. Would love to leave. We'll leave some time at the end if anybody has specific questions, so we can kind of hit those out and just kind of dialogue a little bit for anybody that's got some specifics or specific questions for Kevin or myself. It's the quietest podcast ever as we wait. Well, we'll add a little.
Waiting.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's hard to sit still.
There we go. Fans are going crazy in the audience. All right, so cool. So we'll let people pour in over the next few minutes, but we'll get started now. So obviously, man, first and foremost, for those that don't or have never met Kevin Edwards, this is Kevin Edwards. He is our branch manager and loan officer up in Reno, and he is crushing it. And I just wanted to say thank you from us at ARBOR and probably all the LOs that are going to be on the call, just for taking some time out of your day and give us just having a conversation, man, and giving us some more insight into kind of your background and how your production's running. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I guess, like most of these podcasts, I think it's really useful for people to get a feel for who you are. So if you could just kind of give us some background about yourself, maybe some personal stuff, and then just kind of like your story of how you got in the business.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, happy to be here. I've watched the other podcasts. So, always learning, and hope people can pick up some tidbits from this call. For me, myself, obviously, I was never was thinking I wanted to be a mortgage broker when I grew up, but turned out to be a great opportunity for me because I was in baseball coaching and education, and that kind of hit a dead end when you get a family and you need to make more money. You couldn't survive on 3 jobs and virtually minimum wage. So my wife, her best friend or one of her friends was a manager at iMortgage Loan Depot, and introduced me to her a couple of times. It was just hard for me to leave what you think this is what you're going to do the rest of your life. And then I made the switch and haven't looked back. That was March of 2016. I came into the business. So
right on, man.
In retail.
And then how did you, from that transition, if you're at like iMortgage, how did you kind of find your way into kind of the broker world?
Yeah, I remember it very clearly. It was fourth quarter of 2018. Started to see that volume went down, rates went up. That fourth quarter rates went up, and I started to ask more questions to my manager and some of the more veteran loan officers in the office, and I was asking them, how come my VA and FHA rates are the same as my conventional, and all our marketing material says an advantage is lower, better interest rates, right? It's like, and I was still pretty green because only been 2 years in the business, and you drink the Kool-Aid and go to Todd Duncan, and you're really learning how to sell around the rate, to be quite honest. But I needed to know more, so I asked questions, looked behind the curtain, and then at our company, I was at Finance America at that time. We had a couple different outlets. One that like I really got tired of losing deals, so it's like, okay, how can I get sharper, and how can I be in control of my pricing? Well, you start to hear that other loan officers in the company were running some borrow paid deals through FAM. So I started to do that to where it'd be like a net zero. And, so then that starts to get to the regional and the branch manager, and they don't like that because it's taking the cutout of the pie. But then also we had an opportunity to take loans to Stearns through FAM.
Okay.
And I would go into the back end, and I created a relationship with the account manager. And I was like pricing loans every day to see where Stearns was sharper than FAM. And that meant that I was going to have to take this deal to Stearns. So I started taking deals to Stearns because it was better, significantly better, even with FAM's comp into the broker transaction.
Okay.
Then I take some deals to Citadel, which is now Acra. So I started to just explore and get out there. And then, Tommy and the ripple effect, Tommy was looking too around Loan Depot. And then I remember the introduction to you. I was prospecting at a realtor's office, and you called me that night, and it was just like kind of epic storm, perfect time for
Good timing.
2019. And I was planning. Actually, I came to broker because I wanted to prepare for this type of market, right? Anyone can survive in the mortgage bonanza that happened, but I wanted to be prepared for, we're going to thrive in any market in this channel. And that's what I was preparing for, was the thin markets, and, how I'm ready for it, and not saying, I wish I would have, right?
That's such a good point, man. And I feel like that is something that it gets really lost, right? And it's interesting, given that you came into the business even after like 2008 and really haven't seen a super thin market. One of the things that I was just trying to put out there a couple weeks ago, just to loan officers in general, was to really educate themselves on like the history of the mortgage market, right? To actually see and go back in time and kind of like understand, what those cycles look like and who was thriving in those cycles, right? Because I think it's only from like looking backwards and going, wow, like, what was the mortgage market like in like 1990 to like 98 or to 2000, and then what was it like from 2000 to 2008? There's like, and I think you'll find there's these big like markers in time. Like 2008 is like this big marker where the market shifted, and I think now I think we're in one of those markets right now as well. And I think you pivoted obviously at a really great time, because now you're dialed in this channel. And we can tell, and I don't think I hit this on the start of the call, but just to kind of give everybody who's here just some background into Kevin's production. So Kevin, right now, as of today, is the number one actually unit and volume producer at ARBOR. He's funded year to date. And this is just MMI stats on the 14-month roll, but he's at 58 million and 138 units, which is, that's huge volume and huge production. That's a testament to, him getting in and mastering that craft. So, kind of, it's interesting because when you look back on that 14-month production number that you put out, right, with like 58 million and 138 units, and it's been a grind, dude. 2022, late 21, market shifted. What would you say, like, what was your mindset in that market as things turned post COVID, right, and things got hard? And you had obviously made the shift to be in a place where you felt like you had the chops to be able to survive. What were you doing in that late 21, 22 market now that's kind of got you and kept your production where it's at?
Yeah, for me, it's like I read everything, I watch everything. So I'm just, I just am a sponge for this business, and it's hard to explain, but through all the noise, I filter through it, and I don't implement everything because I'm just realistic about that. But I do attach on to things that I know are going to be of value to me or my mindset. And really, for me, it starts with my mindset. And I watch all the UWM stuff that, those videos are so impactful for me. I don't watch their sales huddle, but I just watch the fast break and the 3 points, right? Those are just
Okay.
easy little nuggets. It's like those tidbits are so easy. But um, Matt, the CEO, he said he kept talking about two things, and it was like, don't have a scarcity mindset, right? And I was like, hell yeah, that's like, I love that, because there's going to be a lot of fear, and you got to have the thriving mindset, not a scarcity mindset. So really, having that be like a pillar of my mindset has been an important part of it. Um, in addition to that, when volume was high, it's like a lot of stuff goes to the voicemail, and you're struggling to pull out of that trap of the follow up. And follow up's always been a strength of mine. It's been one of my number one pillars for my real estate agents, is to be able to tell them that, if you give me something, I'm going to get it to the finish line. And I'm not talking about the loan. I'm talking about converting on the customer and the buyer. And that follow up has been really what's built my business, is my ability to follow up, my ability to bring those buyers back to the realtor.
So
And
how can you dive into that like a little bit more? So it sounds like that might be a little bit of a different process than I think what we see with most loan officers. So, you know, because a lot of loan officers, right? We get the referral from the realtor, and it's about that transaction. So it sounds like when you're talking about following up, that it's a deeper level there from that
it
work. So
is,
what's that
yeah,
process like?
it's that constant, it's like a triangle, right? It's, here's so and so, and here's what they think is their either a hurdle, or they're ready to go right now, or this is the hurdle. It's like, I don't, the hurdle doesn't scare me away,
Mhm.
nor does the timeline. But to be very transparent, it's like, and I just did this yesterday with a realtor and a buyer that I was nurturing through application and text and calling. And then he comes back, and, if the ghost doesn't bother me, it's like, you ghost, I'm going to stay on you until you tell me to go away, or you actually give me something that's tangible. And in this instance, because we know everyone's so busy, but they appreciate it when you stay on them. And the guy came back to me and said, I just had to sign a lease. I need to save some more money. But let's pick this up next year. So then I set my calendar, and when I set my calendar, it's like, it's done, right? When it's
Yeah.
on my calendar, then it's getting done. So it's just as easy for me as setting my calendar and telling the realtor that I've set my calendar, and the realtor can set their calendar too. But I'm
Yeah.
not really babysitting that. I just got to take care of what I can
Well,
control.
and when you set your calendar, you're logging in, and you know that referral is from that realtor. And so when you go back a year from now, and you then bring that client back to that realtor who they probably have not put it on their calendar, and then you serve that back to them, that's a huge value add, right?
Yeah, it's big gold, and it's big gold even just for me to like commit to that for the realtor.
Yeah.
So the realtor psyche is um, really like, hey, this person is like doing his job, right?
Yeah.
Or
And did
yeah.
you so when you look at like your process up there with the number of realtors, like would you say that that's where your growth of business is it mainly realtors in your market, and that's how you kind of got in there and started winning through transaction by transaction, or what were you doing to really kind of get yourself in front of realtors and develop more relationships, and maybe anything outside of realtors, or off your past clients? Like what kind of fueled your continual?
Well, it started with realtor referrals, but then also the focus on listing agent
Okay.
and converting that listing agent on every transaction, making that call post close. I'm not making weekly status update calls. I just don't get on the phone that much with the realtors through an escrow period because I have a team, but I'm really like the conversion specialist. Like I don't have my number two like on the phone trying to convert the buyers or the
Okay.
borrowers. It's just the fallout, too much fallout. I guess I'm too in control up front. So I use obviously EIOS, and those updates are sweet because the text feature and the email feature. But a little side note on that when we're submitting our deals, we're making sure we're scrubbing for those cell phones because the contract a lot of times has office, and we want that cell phone number in byte so that the text message is coming through. Because when we have that realtor meeting, they love the text.
Yeah.
The text is a game changer on the status updates, and what a time saver. I don't need to go above and beyond that to differentiate myself.
So I think that's actually a really good point, and hopefully everybody who's on the call from ARBOR, and again, when we talk about EOS a lot, people there's folks that are active inside of EOS, but even if you're just using like what Kevin's talking about and taking advantage of the in-process purchase automation, which is going to send out the text messages to the realtors at different stages, and it's going to also send them an email. His point, which is again, and this just gets back to some other, I think Jay made this point in a previous podcast, and we kind of hammer this home as much as we can. Like it's all about, the data in your database, like your efforts in your database are only as good as the data, right? And so to Kevin's point here, you could be going along and thinking that oh, hey, they're going to get text updates and they're going to be happy, but you got to double check and verify that you actually have the correct cell phone number for those realtors, so that that the big benefit of your follow-up and that kind of like perfect loan process that you can have is actually working and going out, right? What a bummer if, and unfortunately there is not a way inside of our system to be able to flag and be like, hey, that went out to a bad text number, right? So I think that's a really good point you make there, is to double check your data up front so that you can leverage the automations to free you up to do other stuff.
And I put that at the top of my submission. It's the most important thing in my mind. I can tell the story. Everyone tells the story of their loan, but I put that right up front. Here's the listing, here's the buyer, here's the sell. And I verified it. Someone's got to verify it.
Yeah.
It can't be a maybe, even
right.
if you're asking them for their cell phone, you got to get it. So
that's a great point.
And then at the closing of the transaction, calling that listing agent, congratulating them. But anytime you bring humility into the business, it attracts people to you. So it's something like, congratulations, blah, 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 great job. I'm always looking for ways to improve. Can you give me any feedback on things I could do better, in the listing agent? And a lot of times, most of the time, it gets you right in the palm of your hand. And then you're able to convert an appointment.
That is such a great point, right? And that is, humility, humbleness, right? And it's so interesting because, I think loan officers today are trained, everybody's trying to convert that listing agent. That's like a practice that people try to do. But it's like, how do you gain the trust, or how do you have an entry point into that listing agent that gets them to actually pay attention to what you're saying and actually kind of humanize you or connect you to build a relationship, right? So going the humility route and asking for ways that they can give you feedback to improve that's just, hopefully people have their pens out and you're writing that down as a nugget. That is a nugget.
It doesn't open all the doors, but it definitely it opens a lot of doors, because some of them, they'll just be quick, and I don't want to work with people that are not connected to me,
Yeah.
But it does create a lot of opportunity.
Very cool. And what about like on your borrowers, right? I mean, do you do anything like post close for your borrowers to like inspire more referrals from those from like that angle or
I do. I work Google reviews really hard. My office is really close to my house. It's in a good zip code. So when someone Googles mortgage broker from their house, and if they're nearby me, I'm going to come up on top. So I work the Google review and I
so
send
when
it
you
to
say you work
them.
the Google review, can you because I don't know that everybody knows what working the Google review.
Oh, what I
It,
mean by that is, one of our automations asks for a review.
right.
So how many reviews do I convert off of that? Not very many are converting off of that. But
Okay.
what I do is I I have another system that I use post close, and
Okay.
it's a text request and a follow up text with regards to requesting referrals. It kind of spams them for a little while,
Yeah.
but it's fine. It's like so I'll get the Google review. Also, let them know that the best way for me to grow my business is through reviews.
Yeah.
So again, giving that humanizing it some for them, so they understand that this review is um, it's my livelihood.
Right. 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 Right.
So and and then I respond to the review. So that's things that I've learned through optimization through Google, putting in different keywords into my replies like mortgage broker, rates, things that will help to create more viewers onto my
Okay.
page. And the Google Business, it's been good for me. I do get quite a few calls just off of that. So
That's awesome, man. I mean, and again, I think for loan officers that are on the call right now, right? And I think it's this is kind of again one of those, and we do these podcasts so we can try and pull out as many nuggets of things in terms of what are like differentiators between, you know, maybe checking the box, right? And actually like going beyond just checking the box to the point where you're doing something that's actually driving in more business, right? Or giving you the opportunity to get more business. And I feel like the way you're describing like your mindset on how you're going to convert reviews on Google is a great example of that, because yeah, Arbor, there is an automation that's going to go out. And I think a lot of people, whether it's Arbor or different companies, there's all kinds of different review platforms out there that will go try and harvest a review. But it's going that next level of saying, okay, hey, look, I need to follow up and find out on that successful transaction, did I actually get the review? If I didn't, I'm going to put them in another review conversion campaign, right? To kind of spam them through, get that review. And then ultimately, when I do get that review, I've also done my homework and I know that I'm going to reply to that review with specific keywords to continue to kind of like to level up the process, right? And it's almost like when you sit there and you're like, okay, we're all originators and we all know that getting a review is good. But if you were to say, hey, how is that going to really help my business and get me deals in the future? Well, I send out a review request. That's like a 3 out of 5 on the scale, right? And then it's like I follow up with my reviews after they close and I make sure I get them in like 85 certainty. Well, that's like a 4 out of 5 for you on your leveraging that tool. And then if you actually reply using the proper keywords to accentuate those searches, now you are maximizing the value of that one tool you can use to grow your business, right? And I think, Kevin, to your point, I mean, that's just a great example of you doing something that is taking, I think, what even myself personally, I'll just out myself. Like I'm doing the 3-star version, right? I just rely on it, but I'm not circling and following up of somebody taking a process and mastering that process and doing the little things that really drive more biz.
yeah, and it's not like nobody's perfect, but I've gone through phases of this is most important, and then you have gaps and you can't go back. It's like, oh God, there's several gaps where I had opportunities to really hammer on review, and you lose those review opportunities. I'm not
Yeah.
going back and trying to regain those. So, but once, yeah, when it becomes another pillar, then it's like you just go for it. So
So just from like a prospecting standpoint, right? So you're going out there and you're closing a bunch of deals. You've got your Google reviews. You're picking up on the listing agent. Have you? Do you ever do any like cold? Is there like cold marketing that you're doing, or is there anything that you've done where you're like, wow, I did this like one or maybe two things where this thing it like really worked, and you were able to like do that process over and pick up whether it was realtors or advisors or borrowers where you're like, dude, that's just it was a game changer.
well, I had for probably 3 years I was buying Zillow mortgage leads,
Okay.
and those were good. And they'd go into call action. So the other service is like a text service.
Uh-huh.
That would be all my leads would go into that database, and
Yeah.
it'd be text to convert, like automated text to convert with other features. You could trick it out pretty good. They also give opportunities for reactivation campaigns. So I can reactivate essentially that entire database. Yeah, I'm not organized enough to like weed out the ones I've already converted. So it's kind of like for
Somebody might
me, I'll just let them
where
wear
do
it. They're going to wear
yeah.
it. But if I
Hey,
pick up,
there's no such thing as as bad PR, right?
but so that's some of the other part of my database. It's not cold. Um,
Do you still do
I
now? So
I did a
do you
lot of
still
cold calling early on, with warm, cold stuff. Um,
and
and
do you still do Zillow leads, or do you feel like your database is big enough that it's just now building on itself? Or
I cut that out just like actually a couple months ago,
okay,
because I'm doing Wow Me 2.0,
okay,
and I'm doing 6 product releases with them, and I'm going to give them a try at some of their ROI campaign on conventional loan, FHA, VA, DSCR, reverse. So I've purchased 6 products from Wow Me,
okay,
and they're putting that out there kind of, where you're looking up truck bed liners, and then all of a sudden truck bed liners are all over the place. Okay.
yeah, just
So
on the retargeting campaign.
because I was spending on Zillow, and I was spending on some pay per click, just the basic stuff to get me up to the top in other counties.
Yeah,
Um, but I was like, I'm going to shift my budget and see what happens.
okay.
So that's
Yeah,
kind of, yeah,
I
that's
think that's really interesting, and I think for people out there who are trying to run, obviously we're kind of we're an independent mortgage company, and everybody has their ability to kind of market themselves and search for deals, and whether they're buying leads on their own stuff. But I'm curious from a marketing budget standpoint, like how much do you take a percentage per deal? Like how do you build your marketing budget? What would you say that's a percentage? So that people out there have a good idea to know that
yeah. I
what
think
people are reinvesting in marketing.
marketing's about 20%.
Okay. So I think that's a really good takeaway for some people that, look, we've got a top loan officer out there that is taking about 20% of their budget and using that for some type of, and would you say it's all kind of online marketing? And,
Yeah, it's all online.
and
Um,
do you share that with realtors? Do you do like co-branded campaigns with them, or do you try and just do it all on your own?
my top agent, I still do the old Zillow, co-marketing, because
Okay.
he's driven to get into how Zillow's shifted it to be like they got to be like some premier agent Zillow. Like they've kind of shifted their target on the realtor side,
Yeah.
and he's going to get in there, and he feels like the slice of the pie is really good with the way that Zillow's restructured once he gets into that top tier.
Yeah.
And we refer business to each other for a long time, so I've hung in there with him on that.
Got it. All right, so I'm gonna go just because we're coming up on our 30 minutes here, and I wanted to kind of get in. So if anybody wants to fire in some questions into chat, we have a couple in here just asking like, are you using a calendar app like a Calendly or a bookings, anything like that?
I have Calendly set up with my website, so yes, it does. It does
Okay.
produce inquiries through there, and through my Google business has a link to Calendly also.
Okay, cool. And then as far as post close, like, do you have are you using a separate post close system? What do you use on that front?
I use Arbor system. I use the closing gift campaign. That box that gets delivered is like 9 out of 10. You get something good out of that. So,
Okay, so you're using the gift goose that Arbor already just sets up for you, and then
yeah,
you just kind of manage your database inside of EOS.
and then just your monthly mortgage update. I have HomeBot as well.
Okay,
Uh, I get a lot of responses back on HomeBot, so people
cool.
they're active through HomeBot.
Got it. And we got another question in terms of like how many active referral partners do you have?
I always wanted to have 20. You know,
Okay. Do you think you're at that number now, or do you think you're at more than that you'd count as like really high quality referral partners?
probably I'm probably down off of that.
Okay.
I
You're
like to
still
be
killing it.
20. Well, yeah, I think 20 times 5 gets me 100 deals,
Okay. I
but
like that.
I'm like, and 100 deals is a good year.
Yeah.
So, but then it's like, I guess kind of, I'm just a person of my word. Like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I'm careful on what I say. Guy referred me a deal the other, like a month ago, and and I told him I was going to get him a referral. So I wrote it on my computer and I just sent him one. So I can check that box off. I'm pretty
Nice.
disciplined like that.
Yeah.
So
Awesome, dude. And then is there, so, that we don't have any more questions. I'm just curious, and just in terms of like closing, is there anything else you'd like to share out there that we didn't cover in terms that you think might help Arbor loan officers through the rest of the year?
I just think that just embrace the rising rates. Even today, I'm thinking, all right, there's opportunities again for that prior pre-approval. That email that went out where it's like, because buyers are getting crushed. It's like, and rates are getting crushed, and you get people that are getting quoted 7.5 on VA wanting 20,000 in closing costs. It's like another time to tune up that. We might just send it the whole company, tune up that pre-approval again, because there could be agents out there that they're working with the wrong lender.
Well, right. So the point there being is that you've got rates rising up and the pre-approvals aren't valid anymore. And you've got realtors that are sitting there with buyers out there shopping.
And they
And not
can't
only
afford
that,
it anymore.
yeah.
They
Well,
got to call
and
us
then
to
that's
get that pre-approval tuned up. And then also like become like not only your listing agent friend, but somehow get them to brand you're the seller's preferred lender, a lot like a buyer. Then realtors have to give 3 referrals, but what about a seller saying on that use my seller's preferred lister or realtor or lender,
agent.
excuse me,
Yeah, yeah.
excuse me,
I
lender.
know where you're at.
Yeah,
So that
but
right. So like when you get after that listing agent, and typically, right, because they're, someone's moving, someone needs a loan, right? And those listing agents are controlling that process just as much as the buy side guys. And that's almost, they have it even way beforehand, right? Like they know kind of up front if somebody's coming on that listing agent's side of things, the listing agent knows way ahead if they've got a mover on their hands.
well, and look at that. Agents are getting smarter. Look at that interest rate on the contract
Yeah.
if you're a listing agent.
That's a great point, right? And that's especially right now, right? Because that rate on that contract, if that doesn't sync up, especially where the current market is, that's, in terms of educating them, especially in the rising rate environment, because you can just have, I guess that's probably a good point of deal fallout, right? I mean, if rates are rising and going up and you've got these pre-approvals that were just at 6.5, now they're at 7.25, you probably have a handful of those that are going to bust. Right.
And you're asking
So,
for seller contribution, and maybe they get a second opinion on their loan, and the seller can keep 10 or 15 in their
yeah.
pocket.
So we got a couple other questions here. I'll just hit these up. So do you do any renos? I don't think I put that you're a reno guy, but somebody asked if you do renovations up there. I
I've
think
never
maybe somebody
closed a
probably.
renovation, but
I think they
we're
probably
working
thought
on
Reno
one.
is. Maybe they thought Reno was reno. Like no one's going to live in Reno. You
No.
must be talking about renovation loans. So Kevin's in Reno. He's not a renovation specialist.
Yeah.
And then, so what percentage of your business is coming from the Reno area versus statewide? And then, are you using best offer package at all with your partners?
It's Washoe. Yeah, Northern Nevada is 90% of my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, are you using best offer package at all?
I've not used best offer package at all.
Shame.
Yeah. No,
It's all good.
God, that makes me stressed out.
That's all good, dude. There's no stress.
I love it, but I can't do the realtor's job for them. It's like,
yeah.
Kind
Well,
of
then we're moving on to that side where we're just trying to, it's like one of those things when you use best offer, even if you use it from a pre-approval standpoint, we're going to start really dialing in just for the LO, because to your point, like the realtors, they don't have the velocity of transactions that they have. It's hard for them to adopt new technologies because they don't have enough transactions to use that technology. Like they're only doing one offer every 2 or 3 months. Like
I do like that. If you
know?
make it a pre-approval, like specific,
yeah,
then I'm all over that.
yeah, cool. Which I'll offline. I'll show you that. But that's on that's in the apps. All right, cool. Well, we're at 36 minutes. So, dude, I just wanted to thank you again, man, for spending the first part of your day with us, dude. Giving us there's definitely some nuggets in there. Hopefully, everybody that was on the call, if you didn't pick up, this is going to be recorded, so we'll post it on Spotify and YouTube. And thanks again, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. See ya.
All right, buddy. See you,
Bye.
Kevin. Later, man.